So for this menu, we only need 3 buttons, 2 if you really wanted, but I like having 3. Select the continue button, press F2, and we will rename this button to button underscore yes. Next up, grab the save button and we will rename this button to button underscore no. And then lastly, we'll take the load button and rename that to button underscore back. Then select the rich text blocks and change the names accordingly there. And we will get rid of our quit buttons and our options buttons because we only need the 3 of them. Next up, let's grab that rich text block from the title and copy that over, holding Control, pressing C, and paste another one on this vertical box. Now, when you have things stacked in a vertical or horizontal box, you'll get the option to move them around with these arrows. So click the top arrow a few times until we get that vertical box in the right position. So I want it to be between the menu and the buttons. And let's turn auto on. We don't need it to be a title. This text box is simply going to say, are you sure you want to quit? Any unsaved progress will be lost. Next up, let's grab the yes and no buttons. Select them both, right click, and wrap them inside a horizontal box. Now selecting 2 elements and doing that doesn't quite work as we would expect it to. So just wrapping the first element and dragging the second element on top will work just fine. Now we're dealing with a horizontal box. So now everything in this box will be organized horizontally. Selecting the yes button, let's hit fill on that, and the no button and fill on that. That is going to fill the buttons. Make sure that you have the buttons selected and not the text block because you won't have a fill option if you have selected the text block. Next, let's select the back button and hit fill on that and then align the text to the bottom like so. Now, the only thing that I would probably add to this is a spacer. Let's go and grab ourselves a spacer and shove it in this vertical box with the spacer selected. Let's bring it up until it's between our "Are you sure you want to quit" text and our horizontal box holding the 2 buttons. And now we want to adjust the y-axis. So let's give it about a 50. Just a little bit of space there. Now you could call this menu anything you want. I'm just going to call it quit so that the title matches the name of the menu. And that's some basic functionality done. There's a lot of stuff we didn't have to do. We didn't have to bring in our buttons all over again. We didn't have to rearrange and select our standard text style again. It's basically done for us. So now let's pop over to the graph. We can get rid of the options and quit nodes. We will get rid of the options and quit nodes here as well, and just right click here and remove array element so we don't have to redo this script either. And we will also get rid of this script here. So the 3 buttons we have to code are yes, no, and back. So quitting our game under yes is going to be quite easy. We can just type in quit and we have a quit game option right here. If we select no or we go back, we're going to switch back to our other menu. So let's go back over to our pause menu, design the script to get into this menu, and then design the script to get back, which will be almost identical. So creating a new menu is as simple as creating another widget. Let's get player controller or copy the one you have above, and then create widget. And this widget will be quit, which means that we should probably move it alongside the quit button. Executable into executable, player controller into player controller, queue to align our nodes. And then normally what we'll do here is add to viewport. and you think we'll be done. But we're going to, again, get ahead of ourselves. When we hit back, we want the new widget to know what the previous widget was. And we don't want to have to tell it every single time, especially considering we could get to about 20 menus by the end of these tutorials. So between add to viewport and after add to viewport will be remove from parent, which will be for this menu here. We don't need to pause and show mouse cursor because we already have the mouse cursor here and the game is already paused. We're going to get another self reference, right click, type in self, and then we're going to get class. So we're going to save this class reference inside of our quit menu. Pop back over to quit, hit plus on the variables, and type in previous menu. And for the particular variable type, pop back over to the pause menu and hover over this class reference here. We want to use a widget class reference class. I don't know why it says class twice, but hey, whatever, we'll roll with it. User widget, and then hover over user widget and select class reference. Hit compile and save on the quit menu, pop back over to the pause menu, drag out from the return value of the quit menu and type in set previous menu. And now we plug this class reference into our previous menu. Hold Alt and get rid of that viewport reference because we'll reroute it in just a moment. Executables into executables, double clicking on the return value node. And if I double click a third time and plug that in there, you can see that we can really clean this up, make it look really nice so that we can understand exactly what's going on. And this script here is what switching to every menu is going to look like. When we create an options, a load and a save menu, it's going to look exactly like this, only we're going to have save, options, and load inside of the menu widget there, and save a reference to our previous menu because we're about to use that. Come back over to the quit menu and we'll get our player controller. Drag off our player controller and we will create widget. And the widget we want to create is our previous menu. We could have dropped down and selected pause menu. But again, like I said, we're going to be switching between a lot of menus. So setting up an automated system where the only fault can be the code and not human error, it's going to save you a headache in the future, I promise you. Executable into executable. And because we're going back to a parent menu, if you will, or a menu that controls other menus, we don't need to do anything else except add to viewport and remove from parent. And the script for this is going to be exactly the same for our back button. So let's put no up here, put back there, and we can plug both these executables into the same node, just like that. That's pretty much our quit menu done. We'll add some other features. Grab that event construct. Get your player controller. And then off player controller, set user focus. And we want the first button to be the no button, which, you can change it to yes if you want, but normally the games I play, it's set to no because they don't want you to quit the game. They want you to keep playing. Nothing wrong with that. Now, with that event construct done, so as soon as this menu starts up, it's going to select this button to focus on something much easier with separate menus as opposed to trying to compile them into one blueprint. Now, if I hit compile and save again, back over to the test map, pop back over to the pause menu, event construct, get player controller, set user focus. This actually gives me an idea of how we can focus different buttons. So for example, if you were just leaving the quit menu, you'd probably still be focused on the quit menu, but we'll work on that in the future. For now, let's just make sure the menus are 100% functional. And we can worry about those little details probably in a later video. Now hit play, right click in the map, pause on the gamepad, down to quit. And now if I was to hit no, it would take me back to this menu. And then if I was to hit quit again and hit yes, it quits the game. So there are our menus speaking to each other, being very functional, being very independent. So now if we go back to our player controller, we don't need to set widget in focus. It will work just fine without that. Also cleans this up a little bit. And we have gamepad support between those menus as well.